Amazing hackers, hope you're all doing well today. So, what's up? Today I wanted to just hang out a little bit, chill with you. First of all, we're going to share this on Twitter because I haven't even done that before. So, I was impulsive, I wanted to go online. Welcome to my kitchen, welcome to where the cheese is made, amazing hackers. Hope you're all doing well today. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask them in the chat because I will be answering them for every one of you if you want me to. Now, first of all, I need to give you guys some general bug bounty advice because in my opinion, a lot of people are taking bug bounties the wrong way. Let's talk about APIs, shall we? A lot of you have asked me, Uncle Rat, what exactly is an API? Because I've heard a lot of these things about testing APIs. How do you test an API? What do you test from it? And how do I find a target that has an API in it? A lot of people don't even know that. So it's important to realize that a lot of these things around us, my cell phone, my computer, my smartwatch, anything that I have around me here will talk to an API if it's connected to the internet, because all of these things are smart devices, what we call them. They're basically talking to an API somewhere. So it doesn't really matter what target you pick, as long as it's talking to something on the internet, which I'm pretty sure that almost every single bug bounty target out there is. It's talking to something on the internet. So in that case, it's probably talking to an API somewhere. What does that mean for you if you want to be an API tester? It means that it doesn't really matter what front end you decide to pick. It really doesn't matter. Do you want to hack a website? Okay, just use the Burp Suite to intercept the traffic and you're talking to the API. Do you want to hack a mobile application? Same thing. Couple it to Burp Suite and you're hacking an API again. So APIs are everywhere. If you want to hack an API, don't look too far. Just take any single program that you really like and the chances are very likely that it's going to have an API in them. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is that bug bounties, in my opinion, are a really bad name because bug bounties are not even really bug bounties. Okay, you're hunting for bugs, that's what a lot of people think, but that's not my opinion, because when I do bug bounties, I am testing my methodology against a target, against a live target. That's super important to me, because of course I can learn all that I want, but learning won't bring me any real life experience, and that's what the bug bounties is for me. It gives me that real life experience that I'm looking for when I'm actually hacking. And if you think about it, to name bug bounties, it implies that you're hunting for something which you know always will have a bug on it. But that's not the case. It's just not. Bug bounties in real life, they're not always going to have bugs on them. That's what a lot of these courses and a lot of these practice platforms do wrong. Yes, for sure, fair player. Thank you very much. Please ask your question. Now, what these bug bounty platforms do wrong, in my opinion, is they let you practice on something which you know is going to be vulnerable. That's not a bad thing per se, because everybody needs to start on things they know are vulnerable. But if you don't practice on a real bug bounty target, you're never going to know if your target is actually something that you're good at, you know. That's something that a lot of people seem to skip as well, which is something that is the next point for me. Thank you very much, super nifty and unique nickname, Mr. Rat. Welcome to the membership of Radical Rats. Now, what I was talking about is that when people do bug bounties, they often ask me, Uncle Rat, what should I focus on? What type of vulnerability should I focus on? And that's a really good question as well. Because I don't think you should focus on any type of vulnerability at all. I think you should have a very basic understanding of every single one of them, or at least as much as you can, and then go into your target completely blind. Don't even think about what you're going to hack, and first of all, explore your target. This is something that I want to give to you that is super important. Exploring your target is something that a lot of people miss. Everybody seems to start up Burp Suite, everybody seems to start up their tools, and they seem to go like, boom, bam, let's start up XSS Strike, let's start up SQL Map, let's see what we can do on every single parameter. It's really not how things work in bug bounties, because what I do is whenever I start a burp suite and I go hunting, is I just click around for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, even a couple of hours. I want to know what my application does. I want to know how my application works. That's very important for me. I need to know what I'm working with. A lot of you hackers, and I don't mean this in a wrong way because I love every single one of you, but a lot of you hackers seem to have gotten this impression that you can hack things without knowing how they work. And I don't know where this comes from, but that's not the way how things work, guys. If you really want to hack something, it's important to know how it works, of course. And you can't just know how these things work without clicking through them. I know it's hard work. I know it's annoying work to click through your entire application, to map it all, very annoying and all of that stuff, but it's worth it. So sorry about my little rant there. Thank you so much, Super Nifty. Yes, you are a pwn chip. Oh, hey, you're pwn chip. Sorry, I was unaware. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? Welcome on the stream. Mr. Cybersecurity, can you explain how to start in bug bounties? For sure. That's something that a lot of people have asked me, like, how do you even start in bug bounties? It's very important that you have at least a solid basis. Now, I don't mean that you need to know everything. Nobody knows everything. It's important that you have a solid basis and an open mind, because when I started out, I just Googled whatever I came across. Like if I came across GraphQL, I Googled how to hack GraphQL. I Googled how IDORs work, I even Googled how cross-site scripting works from start to finish. And all of that is very important, that you don't just go in thinking, first of all, I need to know everything, because you don't need to know everything. Nobody knows everything. And second of all, just go in with an open mind, just Google whatever you come across and see what it gets you. Starting in bug bounties is not about finding your first critical vulnerability. Starting in bug bounties is about finding your first vulnerability. And this is a tip from Insider PhD. So Katie, if you're watching, thank you so much for this tip. Really good one. Your first vulnerability should be a very basic one, a P4, like lack of rate limiting on resources, or one-time password sent over text, over hypertext protocol, not HTTPS. So just try to find some of those basic vulnerabilities, and don't go all in trying to find remote code executions and whatnot, but go in with that open mind. That's very important. I hope that answers your question sufficiently. If it did not, please feel free to ask more questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Mr. Fair Player asks, they say never assume that the target is hardened or top hackers already own them, etc. I feel like jumping straight to Big 10 companies would be dope. Please correct me. You mean things like Google for hacking and Google Yahoo? That's true. What you have to realize is that the reason they do bug bounties is twofold. So basically in bug bounties, you have our side. We basically just want to make money. We want to hack a target. We want to have prestige. That's one of our sides. But there's also the side of the company. And what the company wants is the power of the crowd. The company wants to have as much hackers on the case as possible. Which is good, because of course that allows us as hackers to actually demonstrate our skills. But it also means that we need to leverage our unique skills and our unique things that make us good at something. Like for example, I have autism a little bit lightly, so I'm good at recognizing those details that other people sometimes skip, which makes me good at functional testing. So that's what I focus my attention on. But other people are good at technical things. Some people are good at recognizing SQL injection. I cannot recognize SQL injection if it stared me right in the face. So it really depends. For the hacking specifically, yes, just go for whatever feels right. But you have to realize this. If you're fighting Google, you're fighting a big corporation which has a lot of money for pen testing. Is that per se a bad thing? No, because I have found super easy things that pen testers have missed. You also need to realize that a pen tester is very bound by scope. If I get an assignment, I have a very specific scope that I need to stick to. As a bug bounty hunter, that's often not the case. Even though it may seem like we have a lot of scope restrictions, believe me, we do not. Try being a pen tester and you'll notice. So, happy morning, Mr. Vicky Rock. Thank you for joining us. I hope that answers your question, by the way. Fair play. If it did not, let me know. Doing great, and I always say the basic understanding of tech stack you're attacking very, very, very important. Having a basic understanding of the technology stack and not just the things like what programming language is being used, but also what architecture is being used. Like, do they use any retry mechanisms, for example? How are they handling integrations? It's about more than just, do they use PHP, do they use ESPX? Very good remark there. Thank you for that. Now, the next one is also for me to take lots of notes. Very important to take lots of notes. Especially me as a dad. I am a dad, so I don't have 8 hours to hunt anymore like I used to. I mean, you guys can see at the top of my screen, my clock, it's 2:20 a.m., so it's late here. I have to do things when the baby is asleep and when my wife is asleep. I get maybe 1-2 hours a night to hack. So what do I have to do? I have to take very clear notes, because sometimes it can even take a week before I can hack a target again. That is not something that I want to do without taking notes. Very good remark. Thank you so much, Mr. Super Nifty. And we have Mr. Fair Player. People who ask how to start longer than a week should quit. There's just too much resources. Quit asking this. Well, the thing is, there's just too much resources, and that's true. There is too much resources, and it's hard to make a distinction between the good resources and the bad ones. For me, at least. For me, when I started out hacking, there were thousands of resources I could pick from, but it's not really easy to see which ones are the good ones in the beginning. First of all, a lot of these resources, if you look at plagiarizing checkers, they'll check how much of an article is copied over. You'll notice that a lot of these articles are complete rip-off of each other. Almost none of this is original work. They all start from one article and they give their own little spins on it, but they're often not even correct, which is frustrating to me. So that's why I start my stuff, of course. If you think you can do something better, do it. So that's what I did. I did my stuff. But it's really hard to pick the right things out there. So maybe it's a good idea if I pick together like a research collection that I really like. I'll make that out for you guys. Thank you for that suggestion, Mr. Fair Player. Capo, more of a hacker question than bug bounty, but how do you remotely install a keylogger? Hard to bypass the AV, is this something you know how to do? I'm not gonna answer that on stream, my friend. I'm terribly sorry about that, but that's a black hat question. Big targets are always better. Things are easily missed by hackers. Can you explain, Mr. Philippe Carlino, what you mean by big targets are always better? Like, do you mean broad scopes like star.target.star or something like that? Hello, Mr. Fink IT. Hello, Mr. I like more stuff as well. Yes, not gonna read that out loud. My pleasure, Mr. Fair Player, and thank you for being in the stream, by the way. Thank you, everybody. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer for you. Now, one thing I wanted to address as well is the difference between a broad scope target and a main scope target. What is the difference between star.target.star and www.target.com? A lot of people have asked me this as well, and what's better to start with? For me, I always say stay away from the broad scope targets. This might sound insane of me, but stay away from the broad scope targets. All you're doing is you're repeating a methodology which you saw online, which you really liked, and don't get me wrong, I loved that methodology as well. I'm talking about Jason Haddock's methodology. He talks very in-depth about how all of this stuff works, but most of us don't fully understand what we're doing when we're running all of these tools. So that's why I say stay away from broad scope. Start with main scope, get to know what you're doing, get to know what you're looking for, and then go into broad scope. Then you can do things like subdomain flyover. You can see which of the subdomains are interesting to you, but you have to recognize them first. So stop blindly repeating stuff you see on the internet, please, it really doesn't do us any favors. Now, is it bad? No, I love his methodology. Again, don't get me wrong, his methodology is amazing, but it took me about a year to fully understand it. It's not as easy as he makes it seem, though it does seem very easy at first, of course, but it's like, oh, you have to scan for ports, and then you have to see which banners are open and which banners are displayed, and you have to see if you can find a vulnerability for that specific software version. That's all very easy to say, but how do you find a vulnerability for a specific software version? My point exactly. Don't blindly follow things. Don't blindly follow me. Don't blindly follow me either, guys. Please don't do that. That's a very stupid thing to do. If you blindly follow anyone, you're not doing well. It's like Fair Player said, do your Googling. And it's not like this stuff is hard to find either. It's just that you have to look a little bit. Now, just Googling isn't enough, of course. I've talked a little bit about this in the beginning. You need to go through your application. You need to Google everything that you want to hack. If you encounter GraphQL, you need to Google how to hack GraphQL. If you want to hack SOAP services, you need to Google how to hack SOAP services. So there's different complexities to this, of course. But if you understand them a little bit, you might be able to advance your bug bounty hunting career a little bit. Alright, Mr. Fair Player, how is my day? More importantly, how do you prefer your coffee? Well, my friend, right now I have right here an espresso. This is a decaf espresso, of course, because it's 2 a.m. But I have a very beautiful espresso machine right here. I love espressos with 2 cubes of sugar and no milk. So that's how I like my coffee. And my day's been pretty eventful. I've been in a lot of pain today. My neck hurts all of the way up to my chin, up to my jaw. My shoulders hurt down to my arms, down to my fingertips. Then I have pain from the back of my back, from the bottom of my back all the way up my legs into my toes. So yeah, I'm in a lot of pain, but it's been going pretty good because we've been going to the zoo for the past couple of days. So it's been a holiday today. It's Monday, but it's a holiday, so we didn't have to work. So we went to the zoo, which is important as well. You need a break every once in a while from all of this hacking stuff. Believe me, hacking is super, super stressful and super eventful. So take a break every now and again. What I usually do is I go to theme parks, but since it was raining a lot, we didn't go to theme parks. We went to the zoos. It's a little bit more sheltered there. There are a lot more trees. So we went to the zoos, but I do go at least once a week to an outside event. I don't want to stay inside. And of course, walking is important. Your brain is just as important to relax it as it is to stress it. So be sure that you take some attention to that. How I manage my continuous learning, any good tips on that? Continuous effective learning. That's a really good question, Mudassar Sharif. By the way, sorry if I butcher your guys' name. So Mudassar Sharif asks for tips about continuous effective learning. For me, I see life as an effective learning tool, as a continuous learning tool. If I stop learning, the day I stop learning is pretty much the day I die. I don't want to stop learning. It's important for me that I make time to learn. Of course, I need to make time to relax. But what's important for me is that I don't have a set goal. I don't have an end goal. I just keep on learning. It's basically my belief that I am put on this earth to learn as much as possible and to help as many people as possible. I'm not very religious, but that's one belief I hold strongly, is that I am put on this earth to learn as much as I possibly can. And then when I die, I'll see if I was right or wrong. But it helps me a lot because if I see things that way, of course, I'm obliged to fulfill my prophecy. I'm obliged to learn all that I can on this world. So I hope that was useful. Another tip that I can give you is to just make time. The hardest thing about learning is getting started. Sitting in your sofa, watching television is comfortable. So kick your own ass out of that sofa and just get started, because I'm sure that the moment that you're working is going to make it a lot easier. That's at least for me. For me, it's super hard to get started. And it also comes back to how I save my time. I take a lot of notes so I can get started immediately and I don't have to search for a lot of things. Because searching takes time. I don't want to search for things. I want to start immediately. Same thing with my learning. I take very precautious notes. My notes are pretty good. If you guys have seen them, they contain a lot of detail. I know where I left off, and I take a lot of time in writing the correct words and the right sentences. It may seem silly, but it's very important that you take very good notes. So I hope that was good tips for you, mister. If it was not, please feel free to let me know, and I will happily answer some more questions. Mr. Super Nifty and unique nickname. I work for a large corporation and I can tell you there are tons of simple stuff people miss and devs get lazy. The basics will always serve you well. That's an excellent tip, my friend. And I can tell you guys that it's best if you guys go looking for things that are in integration points. Integration points are often overlooked. That's where two programs integrate with one another, of course. Also, things that are often overlooked are features that are built today and a feature is built on top of it in a year or so. Developers are not very good at keeping the documentation up to date, so in a year nobody will know how the feature is supposed to work. They'll forget some things and bam, you have a vulnerability on your hands. Thank you very much for that tip, my friend. Filippo Carlino Capo, look at the tool Graffiti. Oh, yeah, that's a good tool, but try to keep it white hat, guys. I do not condone any black hat activity. Let me make that clear. Ben, would you suggest running some IIS servers or other services to learn about the vulnerabilities that come with those technologies? That's a very good question, my friend. I absolutely recommend that you do. What I do is I hire a virtual private server, or a few actually, and I constantly experiment on them. Like for example, I've had my friend install a WAF on one of those servers so I can see how it works, see how rule sets are composed. It's very important to me that if I come across something in a target, that I'm able to make it for myself. I want to see what it does and how it works. And that way I can see if I can break it in some way. So excellent question. Always have yourself a lab ready. And that lab can be very simple. Can be a few VMs on your own computer. Can be 2 virtual private servers. Can be a separate computer like I have. I choose to have everything that I want to run natively. I don't want to run with virtualization because that brings a lot of trouble. So I have macOS, I have a Windows machine, I have a Linux machine, I have everything that I need, basically. Thank you very much for that question, my friend. Sorry for the pain, but that is what makes you strong, man. That is very true, fair player. I am a firm believer that everybody carries their own cross, and we all carry as much as we can. Nothing more and nothing less. Let me see here. Definitely that's how we learn, Mr. Fairplay. Very true. I am from Belgium, Mr. Okay, I'm going to try to pronounce your name, but sorry if it's wrong. Vivekanandan Ramaswamy. Is that correctly spelled? Because I tried my best. I tried my best, friend. Much love. Alright, I'm from Belgium. Mr. Super Nifty also says, Ben, absolutely, I learn lots from building things like AD Exchange, IIS, SharePoint, and knowing how they're supposed to be built will help you know how to break them. Very, very true. The WAF example is excellent. Guys, go install mod security from OWASP and go install the core rule set and see for yourself how a WAF works. It will help you circumvent them in production. Let's see here. Hello, Simil. Good to have you here as well. My friend, see you. Good to see you. Free tiers of AWS and Azure are also a great place to play around. Very true. Those are excellent places to start. And they just give you, the free tier to just test on, do what you want. And just not worry about being prosecuted as well. What you can always do is just set up your own server, hack a little bit, and not being worried about being prosecuted. That's what I always worry about, because as you guys know, I always test every single website that I come across, which I should definitely not do. but I do test them in a sense that I name myself a cross-site scripting attack vector, which is not invasive testing, by the way. I am not going to invasively test any website. That's very important. But anyway, I just do it passively, you know, and that, I don't know where I was going with the story. Sorry, it's late, guys. Wow, Semil, you are very cool, man. It's really cool that you know Dutch as well. In your tweet, did someone really bypass the OWASP? No, nobody bypassed the OWASP root set yet. But I've been looking at some things with Roman numerals that might be interesting to encode my payload in a base 64 and then make all the numbers Roman numerals. I'm seeing if I can make that work in some configuration. Maybe I can, but I probably will not. Mr. Fair Player says, Linode is definitely worth its price. Prostral is sufficient to test and evaluate. Definitely. I pay $5 a month for a virtual private server and I use it to hack. I use it to host my labs on. I use it to host anything on that I need. So $5 a month is more than enough for what you need, basically. Great, you spelled it right. Awesome. Thank you, man. Really cool. Lots of love from you, man. Lots of love for you as well. Mr. Simil says, got my first bunk bounty because of you on integrity with the IDOR tutorials. That is really cool, man. That is awesome to hear. The IDORs and the broken access control. I don't know what it is, but I keep coming back to them. They're one of my favorite vulnerability types, and I think it's because you have to test a lot. If you're testing for IDORs and broken access control, it's important that you test every single functionality there is out there, with every single user role that is out there as well. You should make sure that you're testing, like for example, if you have the invoices system and you have a user management system and you have an HR person and you have a salesperson and you have a manager, you should test every single functionality that the person is not allowed to access, and you test it with every single person, every single user role. This is extremely important. A lot of my vulnerabilities I found like this, where I found like one duplicate and 6 non-duplicates of exactly the same thing, but just on a different parameter. So that person was very unlucky. If they would have spent a little more time attacking their target properly, they would have found a lot more bugs, of course. So thank you very much if you skipped them, but I'm sorry, I'm going to grab them up. Mr. Capo, thexssrat, are you into stacking cryptocurrencies? If so, which ones? Do you know what Truebit is? I have no idea about Truebit, but I've been a proud Bitcoin hodler since the beginning of Bitcoin. I've mined some coins in the beginning and I was very happy that I did. I don't want to know about any of the altcoins though, at least not for my investment. I think most altcoins are basically like a casino. Some can have a very big value, some cannot, but I think Bitcoin has the most value in it because it's actually actively being used. And I don't know why, but I think it'll become the best one. Of course, if time will tell. There are like millions of different coins out there probably, so who knows which ones are going to survive and which ones are not. But I definitely think we're in a crypto bubble as well. For me, it's Bitcoin. Proud Bitcoin hodler since the beginning. UUID based IDOR, oh dang, I love UUID based IDORs, because if you guys don't know this, but a UUID based IDOR is basically like an IDOR. You guys all have seen the UUIDs. It's hard to report that because it's not really easy to guess, of course. As an attacker, I cannot guess this UUID. Now, what I've told some of you guys is to look for an endpoint which displays all of the UUIDs. And apparently some of you listened and found those endpoints, which is really good. Awesome going, Mr. Samil. They are really good. Most websites are not in English either. So how do you manage to understanding content of websites not in English? So international websites, I mostly understand them by using Google Translate. That's it. I hack on Japanese websites sometimes. Believe it or not, I love Japanese websites because they seem to have a lot less competition, and there's a Japanese bug bounty platform out there with excellent targets on them. And basically, I just use Google Translate for whatever I want to know. That's it. You can have Google Translate the whole page for you. And that's what I do. and definitely it pays off because, of course, a lot of more people know English than know Japanese or Dutch or whatever, and it really pays off to start hacking on those specific programs due to the lower competition. So yes, definitely worth actually doing that for me. Um, I'm Dutch, so I would understand most of them, but Chrome Translator will help you. Ah, yes. Oh, cool. I didn't know you were Dutch. Sorry, I thought you were somebody else. That's really cool that you're Dutch, man. Hey, groeten man. Really cool that you're watching. Some Dutch people in here. That's so awesome. I don't think there's enough people from Belgium and the Netherlands interested in cybersecurity. So I'm making it one of my goals to actually have as much people reached as possible. So it's always good that you guys are able to like bring people in from your friend groups, whatever. If you know anybody that's interested in cybersecurity, feel free to let them know about me, because the more people that know about me and the more people that know about people like me, because not just me, also people like Stuck, people like Insider PhD, people like Nahamsek, people like Jason Haddix, the more people know about these amazing hackers, the better. Believe it or not, but we're evolving to a world where security is going to be a real big issue. I've told you guys in the beginning of the stream that APIs are everywhere. My cell phone is talking to an API. My computer is currently talking to an API. So the more APIs are going to rise, the more communications are going to rise. And IT is basically a information technology. That information needs to be secure as well, which is going to be very, very difficult. So yeah, the more hackers we have, the better. The more we can enthusiastically and get involved in all of this, the better. So if you guys have any ideas about that, feel free to let me know as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Super Nifty, for that donation. I really appreciate that. All of your guys' donations, by the way, will be used to help educate others as well. We are currently setting up a program where we'll be talking to high schools, middle schools, and even lower schools, where we want to make children enthusiastic about hacking. So thank you very much for all of your donations. They'll be put to very good use. Let's see. How do you monitor a target for new JavaScript files? Do you use diffing or a tool, or just manually check? That's a very good question, Mr. Philip Carlino. I'm going to give you guys one of my secrets here. What's very important is that you know when something new appears. So what I do is I use my own diffing methodology. I basically take an MD5 hash of the whole page, and then I at least the static page parts of the page. Like if the JavaScript contains some variables, or if the page contains some things which change. Then, of course, like for example, a clock. If the page contains a clock, I'll leave that out of my MD5 hash comparison. But whatever is static, I'll make an MD5 comparison of. And then I'll compare that MD5 hash with the one that's in my database. And if it differs, I know that there's something new. So that's how I know that there's new stuff on the website. And I do this for all of the targets that I deeply care about. Because it does take some time, of course. I need to filter out all of the dynamic stuff. But once I've done that, I've done it. And it's done forever. I can just keep it running in the background in a cron job. And I don't have to look at it anymore. It sends me an email when it's done and when it detects change. So that's how I do that, basically. Thank you for that question, my friend. Hello, Mr. Roger Duss. Very pleasurable to meet you. What platform is that? The Japanese stuff. I can show you guys. Bug Bounty Japan. So it's basically this one, bugbounty.jp, and it's you will have to use translations, of course, because most of these programs on here, they will be in Japanese, and you will have to see, okay, this many yen is this many euros, is this many dollars, but it pays off because this scares hackers like you and me. If we see Japanese websites, we are scared of the Japanese text. At least any sane person would be. it seems very impressive and it seems hard to understand, but just use Google Translate. And I know that some things might not be grammatically correct, but it really helps, you know. We can also do some, just look for any of the smaller bug bounty platforms on there. Everybody seems to be so fixated on the big ones, HackerOne, Bugcrowd, but why not go for one of the smaller ones like Integrity, Yes We Hack, this one here. There's so many bug bounty programs out there. Let's just pick the ones that we like, not the ones that are the most popular. Let's see here. Semil, HackerOne, yeah, I'm Turkish a little bit. Oh, that's really cool. I know some Turkish words. Koçum and dostum. See, I knew I know them. That was Turkish, right? So I think Koçum is something like brother and dostum is like my friend or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So thanks, my friend. It's really hard work, but it came from my test automation background. In test automation, I do this kind of stuff all of the time, you know, just make some things that are hacky slashy, things that go around that stuff. Let's see, can you put this practical methodology in your course? I really didn't understand. It's in my broad scope bug bounty methodology course. I've made a drawing about it and I explain it more in detail, and I even include a little bit of a sample script in there, so it is in there. Yes, there are a lot of hunters in Japan, a lot more than in Belgium, in Holland, there are just a lot of hunters in Japan, and the reason I think we don't hear a lot about them is that, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the Japanese people seem a little bit more introvert and a little bit more drawn back when it comes to this stuff. They seem to be a little bit more toned back when it comes to celebrating their achievements in the public. I might be wrong about this. Again, this is totally my own interpretation of how I saw things, but that's basically it. So, yes, definitely, if you have a minor in Japanese, use it. Hello, Mr. Sidax Games. Sorry that you joined so late because we're almost closing down. It's almost 3 a.m. and I should really go to bed. Let's see. Hello, Mr. Z-Root. I am doing good. Your zero exploit, right? I recognize that avatar from somewhere. I'm doing good and a little bit of pain still. I'm not going to bed yet, but it's almost ready. Let's see here. Mr. Philippe is saying you can use MD5 stum and terminal to get the hash of any file. Yeah, but the hard part is to remove the dynamic parts, because anything that is static is easy, of course, but there's so many dynamic stuff on a page these days. Like one moment it will load these advertisements and another moment it will load these advertisements. To take the MD5 sum of something that is complete and static is hard. That's what the hard thing is all about. Yes, every file's checksum I'll be looking at, but I'll be making sure that I remove any of those dynamic stuff out of there. Really important, because otherwise my inbox will be flooded with emails, of course. And it's also important that I have a backup mechanism. If I send an email, if I trigger my alert, I'm going to stop checking for that website until I've released it. I manually have to go and click release from my database, otherwise it's not going to check that website again. I don't want to get spammed by emails, of course. How do I see all of the tabs? Well, I have glasses. It's magic, you know? Magic glasses. You guys should try it out, you know? How do I omit the dynamic part? That's a good question. I just manually look for them. I Python script them. I look for the parts. I use XPath. I check with XPath which of the part. Well, I manually check the dynamic parts. I remove them using XPath. Or at least I take the static parts using XPath. That's important. And then I just take that and I add these 5 summit, but I need to know what is static and what is dynamic manually. I need to click through my website. I need to actually look at my source code. Then I'll just write a simple Python script to remove anything I don't need from there. Oh, is it out of focus again? Sorry, that happens sometimes. I don't know why. I can't manually focus it either. But that's good that it's out of focus because I am going to go to bed anyway. I don't think you guys want to see me sleep, so I'll end the stream right here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you everybody for watching, and thank you so much, Mr. Super Nifty, for all of your donations. It's generally appreciated. Thank you so much everybody for being here. It was a pleasure having you. It was so much fun, and I think we should do this again. I don't know what you guys say, but I think we should definitely do that again. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye, amazing.